Welcome back to the vlog, guys. So after last night I managed to fix the water leak, so thankfully there's no more leakage of the coolant. To be honest, it wasn't a repair I was proud of. The hard pipe that comes out of the engine, which then has the flexible and the coupling, no matter what I did, I couldn't secure it with a clamp. I tried even extra cable ties, everything I knew, and it just looks like the surface of the metal is worn and you just can't get a good flush seal around with the hose and the clamp. So when you turn the engine off and the water backflowed in that line, it just passed through the gap. It was strangely all right under pressure when the engine was running. It was only when it was leaking, and then it dropped down through the gearbox here in this area. So anyway, at least it's fixed finally. The thing is, with these old cars, you just can't get access. It's an absolute nightmare. Most of these coolant hoses, you have to drop the engine to replace them, and I ain't doing that again. So I can live with a bit of sealant on the end of a hose. If it works, it works. It ain't crazy. So today, I'm taking off the downpipe bolts, and we can get rid of this crappy exhaust. And maybe you can see behind, in the back of the garage there, the new HKS system. So that is the plan to go on. I took off the underbrace here just to give access so that we can drop the cat back section. And after that, basically today we're going to have to do a bit of welding, because the HKS system is basically horizontal up to about this section, and then there's a 2-bolt flange, which is wrong. It should have this 3-bolt flange. So thanks to Lewis Brooks at Brooks BRD supplying me with a matching flange, which is actually kind of OEM spec, and also matches his downpipe, which HKS should have done. So I wasn't really impressed with HKS, to be honest, because they're one of the best JDM tuners out there. So they kind of should have known this, to be honest. Really, I mean, they should have known it, unless the CS, the Carlos Sainz edition, has a 2-bolt flange. I don't know, but it's a generic one exhaust for all the ST185s, apparently, according to their catalogue. So that's not so good. So what I'll do, take it off on the ground. We'll cut this section off. I want to reuse this curvature section of the pipe, and I'll weld it on with a new flange. Maybe we can even get away with using this flange and just cropping this off and welding it onto the HKS system, but I'll have to do a lot of measurement, and it's just going to be quite fiddly, to be honest. So I think what I'll do, once the exhaust is off, we will put the rear section on, and then we can trial fit in place the mid section, and we'll see where we have to mark up and cut and everything. So that's the plan. Fingers crossed. So I'll put a bit of a time lapse next, and then hopefully you can see me fighting and swearing in slow motion. So here's the HKS rear section in. It goes up around through there and out to the muffler, the back box. So here's all the system, and this is where it runs out. So for the HKS one, they don't even supply you a full pipe to run to connect to the downpipe, which is there, which, to be honest, I think it's a bit of a joke. £1,000 UK sterling, probably, I don't know, $1,400 US, something like that, and they can't even supply you the matching pipe. If I'd known this, I wouldn't have bought it. I love HKS products, but to be honest, I'm pretty angry right now. So for your money, that's what you get. I'm going to have to go on, try and find a local exhaust shop that supplies a 2-bolt flange now, because I don't have one spare. I do have the lovely 3-bolt flange there, which Brooks BRD supplied, but the only one I do have is on the classic Subaru exhaust up there, and I ain't cutting that up to pieces. So there's a couple of ways you could do this if you're fabricating. Is I'm going to cut this section and reuse it. Well, sorry, no, this is actually the bad section. All of this you can cut here, probably about there before the bend. This is all damaged, that's scrap. What I do want is this angle section, so this straight piece to here. I'll crop this flange off I'll weld the new flange on, which I purchased, and all of this can go in the bin because it's junk. So at the moment there's not much more I can do, so we need to fabricate a missing section for this. As I say, we've got the new flange here and I just need a 2-bolt flange. So that's it. Not much more I can do, I'm afraid, until that arrives. Only other job is I might press ahead with the suspension later, but to be honest, I'm going to be welding and things like that. I just want to focus on one thing at a time and get it done right, because as you can see, there's not much room in the garage, and when you start cutting, grinding, welding, it's just a real headache. You need a lot more space than you think. So for now, that's it. We'll put it on hold, and I'll maybe go out and annoy the neighbours with the angle grinder and chop this up for spares. So now some of the spare parts have arrived. We've got the new flange, we've got this 45 elbow and straight pipe. We've also got this section of lovely straight pipe, 3-inch, and I've just set this slip-on flange on the end, so this will connect to the rear section of the exhaust. And I've just been lining up my welder with some stainless steel wire just to match that, because we don't want to use mild steel and then the welds start rusting later on. I've also got some shield gas I need to fit, and there's a spare bottle up in the back up there. And aside from that, the wire's installed, and then let's just get the safety gear on, do a couple of tack welds on this end, and I can then bolt, once it's tacked and I'm happy with the fitment, I'll sort of offer it up into place in the car, If that's good, we'll do a full run on the inside and outside. Then that'll be the straight pipe section done. And just off camera, I did do a quick test fit, and it actually looks like with this flange and the elbow section here, depending what way I rotate it, it'll actually curve down quite nicely and become a straight section and line up aft. The only thing I'll not be able to do is I'm still waiting on a delivery of another meter of pipe. So with COVID and all that, I mean, in fairness, the suppliers have been pretty good because they're short of materials and things. So just work with what you got and have to be patient. So I'll try and get some welding shots after, and we'll see how we go. Welcome back, guys. So this next scene was actually filmed about 3-4 days later. I just needed a break from it, to be honest, because I've now, what am I doing? Let's see. I've been waiting actually for the new meter of exhaust section to arrive, which it has. So this morning I've tightened up these bolts here, and that's the exhaust hanger, so that'll support the weight of all of this section. And as you can see, I'm just trying to get this on film for you, because so there's the axle back system. So there's the muffler, it goes up over the axle and it's kind of up in there, it runs down, and you have this brace that runs across the diff here as well. So now that that brace is off, I can get the spanner up. It's a 14mm. I'm just trying to tighten up with the new gasket here and tighten up the flange. So 14mm bolts, tighten these up, and that means the whole rear section is held in place where I need it to be, so that then I can work out my measurements forward and actually tack some things into position. But again, I've said it once and I'm just not impressed. Yeah, the quality of it is great, it's HKS, but to be honest, it's crap. Why would you sell a catback exhaust when the cat is way over there and the exhaust ends here? There's about 1.5 meters of pipework missing. And considering you spend about £1,000 on this thing, it's just not good enough. So sorry, that's my rant. I'll get back to tightening up these bolts here. That'll secure the rear section on the half of the car, and then we'll break out the trusty little MIG welder, and hopefully we'll butcher some pipes and make them fit. I'm not even going to pretend to show you my welding. It doesn't look like that. It's like a pigeon walking through ink, to be honest. But as long as it's gas tight, it's an exhaust, it's not holding pressure, nobody will see it, and I've kind of given up caring. I'll probably get it working and take it to an exhaust shop and let a professional make a section that can cut up my flange if they want. For now, I just want the car driving, hear what it sounds like, and can move on to the next problem, which will be the coilovers. Get the old shocks out, which are knocking like hell on every speed bump, and then put in the nice new shiny BC racing system. And as true to form with anything on this car, I can't wait to see what goes wrong during that. So I'm starting to lose the plot, to be honest, with this car. It's kind of got to the point, yes, it's road legal, but everything is a complete and utter hassle now. It's just not easy. And as you can see, there's no wine collection, so that's kind of how this is going to pan out, as you can see. So we'll cut to the next scene. I'll get tightening these bolts, and then we'll start welding some crap up. Okay folks, so I've got the tack welding done on the straight pipe, which is actually at an angle, so that basically the whole exhaust will run straight through the sway bar area and beside the prop shaft. So it's tacked on with 2 tacks of the flange. The flange is bolted in place, and as you can see, this is basically as good as it gets, because you can't angle it anymore to the left and you can't angle it anymore to the right. So basically the next problem is I'll have to make a pipe that comes down and round here, because there's no room in this area. So that'll be, at least this is straight to this section. I'll leave that length on it. If I need to cut it, I can cut it later. But we're going to do the down pipe now. So I've bolted on the 12mm flange. I'm going to put in place the bendy 45 and see where it comes out around this area through this gap in the sump that it's designed for. And then we'll worry about the final section and tack it in place. Okay, so I've done a couple of tacks on the triangular flange here. So you can see the down pipe. Here's the new 45 elbow, and it manages to clear the front of the pipe. So everything pretty much is pretty good there. So it gives you clearance on the side of the gearbox, but as you can see, how do you line these 2 pipes up? So this will be the next challenge, to actually somehow find a connection to get round here and bring it round and up. So it's multiple angles, it's not even in line, it's also different heights, different orientations. So I can kind of see why HKS and other manufacturers never bothered to make this section a pipe, because to be honest, it's a friggin' nightmare. So I'm gonna get a cup of coffee, calm down. Thankfully there wasn't as much bad language on film this time. I've managed to, I'll censor that out. But yeah, I need to figure out this section. This is going to be a real pain in the ass. Lots of cutting, probably annoy the neighbours with some grinding. And yeah, we're coming along. So last section to fabricate, measure up and fit. And then once that's done, I'll take all of the pieces off and I'll do a final weld on each flange, because then you can just see a tack to hold it in place on either side. So fingers crossed we'll find a solution to this, and then we can finally get it going with the shiny new HKS system and part of my system on it. Okay, so here's one of the spool sections. I'm actually marking up in white all the areas that need cut away. So when this is in place, it'll actually rotate round, and then I can make a similar section to come forward. So basically there's about probably 4, maybe 5 sections like this, and they all just take cutting, measuring, cutting, until you get them in the correct position. Then I'll tack that one on to the car, and that will allow me to make the next one, so on and so forth, until they all kind of line up roughly. I can hammer them into place with a hammer, and then make sure everything's lined, not touching the car, sump, etc. And then a couple more tack welds and lift the whole section out. Once it's secure, tack welded together, and then I can do the final run, and that should actually be it. Okay, so just to continue the post, I've got this angle section on, which gives just enough angle to get around this gearbox section. And then this morning, just off camera, it's a little hard to show anyway, recording, but I've cut another angled section. I'm going to clean all this up with the grinding disc, and I've also marked up a rough couple of angles here. This will be the final section, so I want to tack weld this one in place first, just to get the perfect angle, and then I can go about remarking, double checking measurements, and then final cut. And this should be the extra leftover half. chopped here. So hopefully that should do it. Then when it all kind of roughly fits, I'll get a couple of tack welds, and then we'll remove the whole section from the downpipe flange with the catback section, the intermediate pipe that I've welded. All of those, we'll bring them out and we'll start welding them here and see how it goes, and hopefully no leaks. Okay, so I've now taken the mid pipe off. I've got the welding gear, the earth clamp connected. I'm not even going to embarrass myself with these welds. What basically you should have is a TIG welder, and I've got a MIG. So there's too much amps, too much heat, and you're working with thin gauge steel. So for a TIG, it would be lovely. You could do beautiful weld beads that you see online and all these videos. With mine, it looks like a drunk pigeon walking through Guinness. But what I'm going to do is, basically I need an exhaust to work. I don't need it to look pretty, it's just got to work. So what I'm doing is tack welding on either side to distribute the heat. When it clears, I go to another section, let it cool. Then I go back here, do a few tack welds either side, let it cool, come back here. So I'm literally having to tack weld my way around the whole pipe in multiple sections. It's not best, it's not pretty, but at the end of the day, you're melting metal and it makes an exhaust, and it's a bit of pipe. So as long as the gas goes through this pipe, out the tailpipe, I don't really care. I'll be happy if it works. The reason being is I need the car off my ramp, because I've got a builder coming to start doing a few garage extensions, and he needs the garage clear. So unfortunately, when I started, as you remember from earlier in the video, I had to bodge up this exhaust to get it through the MOT. However, when I went to remove it, it fell apart. I had to basically cut it, hammer it, make it fall apart to get it off the car. I installed the HKS cap back, and the bloody thing didn't fit. So I'm kind of in a no-win situation here. I just need an exhaust to fit so that I can drive the car to my storage place and leave it there. So nothing fancy, it ain't gotta look pretty, but it has to function, and that's what it's about. Down the line, you know, if I decide to keep or sell the car, I'll get a professional exhaust place to actually make a really nice kind of decat center section. But up until now, it just has to work. So I'll keep on welding here, tack welding, slow going. But I've got this section, and then tack weld this pipe onto here, and then this will all tack weld up. It's marked up to the downpipe bottom section there. So fingers crossed. So my trusty little MIG will be burning some wire today, and fingers crossed we'll make a bit of progress. Okay, so there's the downpipe, this other weird bendy section, and then the straight pipe going aft. So hopefully you can see just how twisted and rotated everything is on that pipe, and that's the one that's missing out of the box. Welding's terrible on it, but I'll tidy that up later. At least now everything fits under the car and the chassis. These other two sections all match up, so everything, once it's welded, will be gas free, and I can still get, more importantly, the underbrace on there near the downpipe. So I think I'll call it quits for tonight. I'm going to do a couple more tack welds here just to make sure everything's safe and it doesn't fall apart. I just want to be 110% sure, and then pick it up tomorrow and just start doing full weld and everything, tidy everything up, bolt it in, and then first start and hear what she sounds like. Okay folks, so I finally got the car ready to go. The downpipe is bolted up, the exhaust is bolted up, the cross member is bolted up. We're going to do a first start, check for leaks, and fingers crossed, let's see how it goes. so it's the next day after doing the exhaust test, and I did find a couple of leaks with my welds. So I've had the exhaust off, I've done a few more repairs, and this is now one of the little kind of hacks that you can do to get these downpipes on. Get a crow's foot and a ratchet, and that'll let you, I'm trying to do this one-handed, tighten them up when you can't get, there's no clearance to get a socket on. And probably half of it's to do with my bad welding, but still, these little crow's feet are a lifesaver, and you can put them on your ratchet and you can get them into all sorts of weird spaces. So I'm going to bolt up the rear now, get a load of gasket paste on the gaskets, get new gaskets in there, and hopefully, fingers crossed, no